Picture the moment you first lock eyes with a woman who stirs something primal in you. Your pulse quickens, your mind begins racing, and suddenly all of your focus narrows onto her presence. It feels almost intoxicating, like the world is fading into the background and she is the only thing that matters. Every man has felt this surge before, and most men are slaves to it. They mistake this overwhelming desire as proof that they need her, that she is the missing piece to their happiness, and so they bend their decisions, their words, and even their self-respect around that fire. But lust is not love, and it is not admiration. It is a chemical storm inside your brain, and unless you learn to master it, it will master you. The truth is, lust has the power to make you irrational, to strip away your clarity, and to leave you weaker than you realize. What begins as excitement often ends in obsession, and obsession is the fastest way to lose yourself. Most men don't notice how lust creeps into their everyday lives. It shows up in the endless scrolling on social media, double-tapping photos of women you'll never meet, fantasizing about someone who has given you nothing in return, or rearranging your entire day just for the chance of being near her. It doesn't sound destructive at first, but slowly it eats away at your time, your focus, and your dignity. You convince yourself that giving attention is harmless, but attention is currency, and every time you spend it recklessly, you're training your mind to believe that she, not you, holds the power. Lust isn't just desire, it's misplaced energy. It's like pouring water into sand, hoping it will fill a glass, and the more you feed it, the thirstier you become. Instead of fueling your life, it drains it. And the cruelest part is that while you're lost in that cycle, she's not thinking of you at all. At its core, lust is a battle between impulse and intention. Biology wires you to react strongly to visual cues, the curve of a body, the sway of hips, the softness of skin. For thousands of years, this instinct ensured survival, pushing men to pursue, to spread their seed, to keep the human race alive. But survival instincts don't translate into modern strength. You're no longer a caveman fighting for a mate, you're a man trying to build a meaningful life in a world full of distractions. When you let those primitive impulses control you, you trade long-term growth for short-term gratification. You allow yourself to be pulled like a puppet by hormones, forgetting that discipline is the truest marker of masculinity. Lust feels powerful in the moment, but it leaves you empty afterward, searching for another fix. It's a cycle of craving without fulfillment, hunger without nourishment, noise without music. What makes lust so dangerous is that it disguises itself as attraction. You see her and think, I want her, but what you really mean is, I want relief from this surge inside me. That relief is fleeting, and when it fades, you're left weaker than before. Many men spend years chasing women under the illusion that they're chasing love, when in reality, they're just chasing the high of lust. Love requires patience, presence, and depth. Lust thrives on urgency, fantasy, and obsession, and the moment you confuse the two, you set yourself up for disappointment, because no woman can live up to the fantasy you've built in your head. When the reality arrives, her flaws, her moods, her humanity, you feel betrayed, not realizing that it was never about her in the first place. It was about your inability to manage your own desire. So how do you overcome it? It doesn't happen by denying attraction or pretending you don't feel it. Suppressing desire only makes it grow louder. The way forward is to reframe it. Instead of letting lust dictate your choices, you take that same energy and redirect it. You let the fire sharpen you instead of burning you. When you feel that rush, instead of obsessing over her, you can choose to channel it into your training, into your work, into your growth. Every surge of lust is proof that you're alive, that you have fire in you, but that fire is yours to command. The man who cannot control his lust is like a warrior who cannot control his sword, dangerous, reckless, and doomed to fall by his own hand. The man who can, on the other hand, becomes unstoppable because his focus is no longer hijacked by fantasy. He isn't ruled by impulses, he rules them. Overcoming lust is about reclaiming control. It's about proving to yourself that you don't need anyone to validate your worth, that no image, no curve, no passing glance can shake your foundation. When you stand firm in that, you project something rare, strength without desperation. They know when a man looks at them with lust in his eyes, because it feels like hunger. But when a man looks at them with composure, when his presence doesn't collapse under attraction, it feels like power. That power is magnetic. That's what separates the man she forgets from the man she can't stop thinking about. And that power doesn't come from suppressing lust, it comes from mastering it. Lust doesn't just live in your body, it hijacks your mind. It convinces you that the woman in front of you holds some magical power over your life, that her attention or affection would instantly fix the emptiness you feel inside. That illusion is the trap, because the more you buy into it, the more you hand over your control. You stop focusing on your goals, your mission, your growth, and start orbiting her. Everything from the way you dress, to the way you speak, to the choices you make begins to shift toward trying to impress or satisfy her. And that's when lust becomes dangerous, when it tricks you into believing that your value depends on her reaction. Think of the times you've found yourself obsessively checking your phone, waiting for her text, or replaying conversations in your head, analyzing every word she said, looking for hidden meaning. That spiral is lust disguised as care. It's not about her, it's about your inability to sit with your own desire without demanding instant resolution. When you can't stand the tension, you reach for the fastest escape, you send that needy message, you compromise your boundaries, you rearrange your plans just in case she's free. Each small decision feels harmless, but collectively, they hollow you out. You're no longer living as a man with standards, you're existing as a man enslaved to impulse. But what happens when you flip the script? When you decide that the desire you feel is not a command but a signal that you're alive, that you're wired with fire, and that this fire is meant to fuel your life, not consume it. The same energy that makes you restless at the sight of a woman can also make you relentless in the pursuit of your vision. Lust is just raw power misdirected. Once you learn to redirect it, it becomes discipline, it becomes focus, it becomes the driving force behind every achievement that separates ordinary men from extraordinary ones. The gym, your business, your craft, all of these can be fueled by the energy you once wasted on fantasy. This is why history remembers men who mastered themselves. The warriors, the leaders, the visionaries, they all had access to the same primal impulses as you. The difference is, they learned to channel it. They didn't allow themselves to be undone by beauty. They appreciated it, but they weren't controlled by it. That restraint created presence, and presence is irresistible, because nothing is more magnetic than a man who stands in front of desire and chooses whether to engage or not, instead of being pulled like a leaf in the wind. When a woman senses that you see her beauty but won't collapse under it, she respects you. When she realizes that you admire her but don't worship her, she's drawn to you. When she understands that you're capable of desire but not owned by it, you become unforgettable. This doesn't mean you eliminate lust. You don't need to deny your nature or act like you're unaffected by women. That would only turn you into another kind of liar. What it means is that you stop treating lust as the captain of your ship. You acknowledge it, you feel it, but you remain the one at the wheel. That control reshapes your entire presence. Instead of radiating desperation, you radiate choice. Instead of being consumed by thoughts of her, you let her wonder about you. Instead of craving her validation, you make her earn yours, and that paradoxically makes you infinitely more desirable. Ask yourself this: when was the last time you looked at a woman and felt desire but didn't act on it immediately? When you didn't rush to text, to like her picture, to compliment her, to close the distance. When you simply observed the feeling, let it rise, and let it fall without attachment. That discipline is the seed of mastery. It's in those small moments that you reclaim your power, brick by brick. Because every time you choose to sit with lust instead of bowing to it, you're teaching your mind a new story, that you are the one in control, that your worth isn't tied to her approval, that your life is too valuable to be dictated by impulses. And here's the beautiful part: the more you practice this, the more women will sense it. They'll feel it in your body language, in your eyes, in the way you speak. You won't need to tell them you're different. They'll know. They'll know by how you don't flinch when they try to provoke jealousy. They'll know by how you don't collapse into neediness when they pull away. They'll know because your energy says, "I want you, but I don't need you," and that energy is rare. That energy is what separates the men who are easily forgotten from the men who live rent-free in women's minds long after they've walked away. Lust can feel like a storm, sudden, overwhelming, and impossible to ignore. The mistake most men make is thinking the only way to deal with it is to either give in completely or suppress it until it burns them alive inside. But the truth is, you don't conquer lust by pretending it doesn't exist, and you don't conquer it by letting it rule your every move. You conquer it by transforming it. By taking that same fire that tempts you to chase her, to lose yourself in fantasy, and instead directing it into building yourself into someone unshakable. Because lust is not your enemy, it's just untamed energy. And when you tame it, when you use it, it becomes the fuel that forges discipline, confidence, and power. Every man has been in that position where desire for a woman takes over everything else. You see her smile, and suddenly you forget your plans, your work, your standards. You rearrange your entire life around a few fleeting chances to be near her. That feeling convinces you she's essential, but she's not. What's essential is the discipline you either gain or lose in that moment. Every time you let lust dictate your actions, you're not just chasing a woman, you're teaching yourself that impulse is stronger than purpose. And once you believe that, you've already surrendered. Because if you can't master yourself, how can you expect anyone else to respect you? Here's the harsh truth. Women can feel when a man is driven by lust. It shows in his eyes, in the way he talks too much, laughs too eagerly, hovers too close. It feels like hunger, and hunger is never attractive. Hunger makes her think you'll accept anything just to have her. Hunger communicates that she's the prize and you're the beggar. That's the opposite of attraction. Women don't fall for men who broadcast desperation. They fall for the man who notices beauty but doesn't get lost in it. The man who admires without worshipping. The man who desires but doesn't need. Because that energy tells her something critical. If he's not collapsing over me, if he can keep his ground even while desiring me, then he must be a man worth desiring back. The way you overcome lust is not by killing desire, but by changing the story you tell yourself when you feel it. Most men think, I have to get her, or I'll lose my chance. That thought feeds the desperation. But what if the thought became, I feel desire, and I'll use this energy to sharpen myself? Suddenly lust is no longer a chain, it's a tool. That's how athletes channel their cravings into training. That's how leaders stay focused when temptation could distract them. They understand that energy is neutral until you direct it. When you redirect lust into your mission, you don't lose anything. You gain momentum. And ironically, that very momentum makes you more attractive, because you're no longer orbiting her. You're building a gravity so strong she begins to orbit you. Think about the last time you were consumed by lust. Did it make you act stronger or weaker? Did it bring you closer to your goals or pull you further away? Chances are it drained you. That's because lust always demands something. Your time, your attention, your dignity. But it rarely gives anything lasting in return. By contrast, when you resist the pull, when you redirect it, you keep that power in your own hands. That's when you start to notice something incredible. The more you hold back from being controlled by lust, the more respect you earn. Not just from women, but from yourself. Every time you win that small battle, you feel taller, calmer, more in command. And that self-respect becomes the foundation of confidence that no rejection can shake. Overcoming lust also means facing a deeper truth. A woman cannot complete you. She cannot fix what you refuse to fix yourself. Many men fall into lust because they're empty, because they're bored, because they're unfulfilled. And lust promises to fill that void for a moment. But the void remains, and it grows deeper every time you seek to fill it externally. The solution isn't to chase harder, it's to build yourself up so that there is no void. Fill it with goals, with discipline, with passions that make your life meaningful beyond her presence. When you do that, desire doesn't disappear, it refines itself. You stop lusting after every woman who crosses your path, and instead you become selective, intentional, and unshakable. There's nothing more attractive to a woman than a man who can look at her with desire, but still choose his standards over his impulses. That restraint communicates more than words ever could. It says, I want you, but I don't need you. I admire you, but I won't abandon myself for you. And that is the paradox. The very moment you stop being owned by lust is the moment women begin to feel real desire for you. Because they're not drawn to the man who gives them everything at once, they're drawn to the man who makes them wonder if they're worthy of him. That wonder is the spark of true attraction. The more you practice this, the clearer it becomes. You start to see women differently, not as saviors, not as trophies, but as people you can choose to let into your already valuable life. And when you live like that, something else happens. You stop obsessing over rejection. Because rejection no longer feels like the end of the world. It feels like sorting. If she doesn't align with your standards, you move on without resentment. That mindset frees you. It frees you from the prison of lust, the endless cycle of needing validation, the constant hunger that drains men of their potential. And in that freedom, you discover something most men never will. Lust was never your enemy, it was just your teacher. It showed you where you lacked control. It revealed the places you still needed to grow. And once you grow, lust transforms into something powerful. A man who has mastered lust is dangerous in the best way. He can look temptation in the face and stay steady. He can feel desire without letting it derail him. He can walk through a world designed to distract him and remain locked on his mission. That kind of man is rare, and rarity is magnetic. That's why women chase him. That's why other men respect him. That's why his life feels calm even in chaos. Because he has finally learned what most men never will, that the fire of lust is not meant to consume him. It's meant to forge him. Lust is powerful because it disguises itself as urgency. It convinces you that if you don't act now, send that message, call her, chase her, you'll lose something irreplaceable. But the truth is, nothing valuable ever slips through your fingers because of patience. What slips away when you master restraint is only what was never truly yours to begin with. When you begin to understand that, lust loses its grip on you. Suddenly, what once felt like a burning need becomes a fleeting impulse, and you realize you can observe it without obeying it. That shift alone transforms you into a man most women are not prepared to meet. A man who can feel attraction, yet not be consumed by it. Here's the paradox. Women respect the man who can walk away more than the man who chases. Why? Because control is rare. Any man can want a woman. Any man can beg, pursue, or perform for attention. But the man who feels desire and doesn't collapse into it, that man communicates something far deeper. He communicates that his life, his time, and his mission matter more than the fleeting rush of lust. And when a woman feels that, she doesn't see rejection, she sees power. She sees a man who isn't just physically present, but psychologically unshakable. And that is what creates not only attraction, but fear of loss. Most men think lust is about her body, but what it really exposes is your own lack of self-mastery. When you're drawn so intensely to a woman that you lose control of your behavior, you're not seeing her clearly. You're projecting your unmet needs onto her image. You're not drawn to her as a person. You're drawn to the fantasy of what she could give you. That's why lust is so dangerous. It blinds you, it strips you of standards, and it makes you mistake intensity for intimacy. True connection isn't built on lust, it's built on choice. And you can't choose wisely when you're being dragged by the current of impulse. But here's where things shift. Every time you resist lust, even in small ways, you reclaim a piece of yourself. You reclaim your clarity, your standards, and your freedom. Instead of asking, how do I get her? You start asking, is she worth me? That one question changes everything. Lust screams, take what you can. Discipline whispers, protect what you are. And the men who listen to that whisper become untouchable. Because once you've proven to yourself that you can master the strongest pull a woman can have over you, you realize there's nothing left in this world that can easily break you. When you rise above lust, your whole energy shifts. You no longer walk into a room desperate for validation. You no longer put women on pedestals they didn't earn. You no longer waste nights, months, or years chasing someone who was never invested. Instead, you move with quiet power. You look at a woman and yes, you feel desire, but it doesn't hijack your mind. It becomes just one part of the equation, not the entire story. You weigh her actions, her respect, her consistency, her values. Lust may spark the flame, but discipline decides whether it deserves to burn. And here's what happens when you live this way. Women feel it, they notice the difference immediately. The same woman who toyed with other men suddenly treats you with caution. She shows up on time, she invests, she respects your space. Why? Because she can sense you don't crave her like a starving man. You want her, yes, but you don't need her. And in that gap between want and need, real desire is born, not just hers but yours too. Because now you're not chasing to fill a void, you're choosing from strength. And when you choose, your relationships transform. They stop being about escape and start being about alignment. The men who never learn this lesson spend their lives running in circles, chasing women who drain them, confusing lust for love, mistaking validation for intimacy. They grow bitter, resentful, convinced that women are the problem, when the truth is they were never fighting women at all. They were fighting themselves and losing. Don't let that be your story. You're not meant to be ruled by lust, you're meant to rule over it. And once you do, life opens in ways you never imagined. Opportunities appear, respect multiplies, your presence grows heavier, because the man who controls his lust controls his future. And if you're still here listening closely, it's probably because something inside you knows this message is true. Maybe you've felt the exhaustion of being led by impulses. Maybe you've wasted time, energy, and confidence on women who didn't deserve it. Maybe you've wondered why the men who seem least interested end up with the most options. Now you know. The difference isn't luck, it's control. The ability to feel lust but not bow to it. The ability to notice beauty but not worship it. The ability to want without being consumed. That's the rarest skill a man can have. So take this as a challenge. Not tomorrow, not next week, but now. The next time lust rises up and tries to pull you out of alignment, stop, breathe. Remind yourself you're not a beggar, you're not starving, you're not incomplete. You're a man with a mission. And if she fits into that mission, great. If not, you walk on, steadier, stronger, and more attractive than before. That is how you overcome lust. Not by denying it, not by obeying it, but by mastering it. And when you master it, you master yourself. If you found this message hitting something deep inside, then you already know what to do. Stay connected, keep learning, and don't let the next lesson pass you by. You'll want to be here when we take this even further. So stick around, hit that button, and make sure you don't miss what comes next.